Good morning, 8th graders. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about a story that you're going to be reading in your literature books. If you don't have your book, don't worry. The story is online and I will put a link onto our Google Classroom. But we are going to be reading this story called There Will Come Soft Rains. I don't know if you can see the picture. I really like the story out of our book because there are pictures and it's colorful, and I'm a very visual person. But the story is going to start on, let me get my trusty little marker here, page 266. But your vocabulary is actually on the page before, so we're going to go over that today too. But our story is called There Will Come Soft Rains. And it is by one of my favorite authors, Ray Bradbury. He has written many short stories and books, and we'll be reading some more of them as you go through my classes in the future. So a couple of things to talk about with this story before you read it. This story was written in 1950, and so we know that was a long time ago, right? That was before I was born. And 1950, World War II had been over for about 5 years. And we know that the thing that really made World War II come to an end was the atomic bomb, especially with the Japanese. The Japanese surrendered because we did drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, two cities in Japan. And it was right after that that the Japanese surrendered in World War II. So then we enter a time period where we have the nuclear weapons, and we enter into eventually a Cold War with the Soviet Union, where both countries are trying to build as many nuclear weapons as possible. Well, Ray Bradbury was kind of a forward thinker, and so he was always looking ahead. So in 1950, when he wrote the story, he actually changed it later and changed the date. But originally, I think the date that he mentions in the story would be like 1985. But he was looking ahead and seeing that this is a huge weapon. This weapon is really important, and it kind of changed the world. And what if it gets into the wrong hands? What if people have it, and then all of a sudden we have nuclear war, nuclear fallout, and the world ends? And so that's kind of what the story's about, even though you may not realize it when you first start reading it. So in this story, the main character is actually a house. And so what do we call it when you give human characteristics to something that is not human? Anyone? Anyone? Yes, you are right. I know Jaden probably got that one. Personification. Oh, I shouldn't just say Jaden. I know, probably Cadence, Grace, Allie, all of you guys got that one. That one's a good one. Personification. Okay, so that is, if you want to write it down in your notes, giving human qualities to something that is not human. And so in this story, it is a house. And so as you're reading it, it's going to be told in a chronological pattern. It goes throughout the day. And so this is the idea of a smart house. Now, we have smart houses today. We have houses that you can decide when the lights are going to turn on, and you can have these automatic thermostats. I think that's the smartest thing we have in my house is a thermostat that we can program. But there are a lot of the new houses that can do all kinds of things. You can have a refrigerator that tells you what you need because it already knows what it's out of. So this is that kind of house. Bradbury was very forward thinking. He really thought ahead that we're going to have houses that do this kind of thing. Now, some of the things that he wrote into his story I think are a little out there, but still very interesting. I think that you'll like the story. If you would like to look at an audio version, there are several on YouTube because I was looking this morning, and I might upload one of those too for you. One of the things that happens here is you have a house, and it is going to be trying to do all the things that it would normally do in a day, but the people never show up. And so while you're reading the story, you should be wondering, where are the people? Why are the people not showing up? And so the idea is that there has been a nuclear war. Everything is destroyed except this house. This house is still standing. But the people aren't there anymore because they're just a shadow on the outside wall. And so there's some evidence about that called the shadow of Hiroshima. or Hiroshima. I don't know which way you're supposed to say it. But that is something that you can look up if you want to know a little bit more about it. And we might talk about that a little bit more later. I want you to read the story. I think that you'll enjoy it, or listen to the story. And I'm going to post some questions for you to answer later. Okay?